Welcome to Matty Loves Comics. I'm Matt D. Simone, and I love to read and talk about comics. I also host a podcast on my website, MattyLoves.com, with my buddy, Dr. Tom Lucas, entitled Matty Loves Podcast, which can be heard 24/7 on my website and YouTube with new episodes every week, or just about. So, the reason I'm here is that Matty Loves Comics used to be a blog on my website where I would run down what was coming up this week, what I had read the previous week, and what I was basically doing and the such. But I figured I'd do a little bit something different this week and turn this into more of a podcast. Like I said, this was once a blog, but when I was building my list of comics for the week, and I was just looking to see what all was coming out, I realized that there was just a few things that I needed to get off my chest, and I didn't necessarily wanted to do it through my blog. Instead, I just kind of give this a whack. I've been wanting to kind of do the weekly Matty Loves podcast, or I'm sorry, I'm going to do this a lot. The weekly Matty Loves Comics podcast. But I just really hadn't gotten the time to do it. However, today I don't have a class, and I've pretty much got a free day to myself. So I figured, you know what? How about I go ahead and give this a shot? So we have just come off the hinges of Valentine's Day, and it is the comic book week, that is, of February 17th, 2016. The 17th is Wednesday. That is when books are released nationwide. So I always consider that to be the first day of the comic book week. Anyway, let's get on with the books. Okay, so I'm going to start out here with DC Comics. This is why I am here today, because I was looking to see what I had in store, as I was saying before, and I saw that my DC Comics load this week isn't much of a load at all, and it really hasn't been for the past, I would say several months. Convergence burnt me, people, and I know a lot of people that read that series had high hopes for it, and it turned into be an absolute mess. Which, we could get into the New 52 and all that other stuff. I mean, you don't have a big enough mop bucket to go in and clean up everything that they have just tossed around and stained the floors with. But anyway, going to what they had this week coming out, okay? The book that I am getting from DC Comics this week, I'm only getting one, and that would be Superman American Alien #4. Outside of this book and Wonder Woman, which also comes out, because that a lot of people read that. I haven't read Wonder Woman in the past couple years, ever since Azzarello left the book. But Wonder Woman has a massive amount of fans. However, it just seems that aside from Wonder Woman and American Alien, what is good this week? When I look at everything that's coming out, there's just nothing that jumps out of the page. Astro City 32 hits the shelves, folks. Batman and Robin Eternal #20. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people that are reading that, but for me, what I don't understand is these weekly series have never really amounted to much in the history of comics. I guess what I'm saying is I don't trust these series. I've never heard of anything major league ever to happen in them. And so when I see, your Batman Eternal, I got the first couple issues, and I could just already kind of tell where that was going. And now when we look back on it, what happened in Batman Eternal, really? Exactly. So, with Batman and Robin Eternal on the rise, I just didn't even bother with it. Now, who knows? This thing could be kicking loads of ass, but as I said, in the past, I've been burnt by these weekly series. I'm not even going to get into Wolverines, or, okay, if we want to go ahead and stick with DC, Countdown 52, come on. Oh, Future's End. I cannot forget about Future's End, folks. Let's take a look at some of the other things that are coming out from DC Comics. Clean Room #5. Now, I read a lot of comics, and I have no idea what in the hell Clean Room number 5 is. Dr. Fate number 9 is being released. I read the first 5 issues of that. Didn't really understand what kind of a direction that they were going in. Can't we just get a Kent Nelson Dr. Fate again? It's not that hard. Ooh, Harley Quinn 25's coming out. So I guess that's going to... I forgot about Harley Quinn. All right, so Harley Quinn this week is probably going to boost some sales, so to speak, because she's a popular character and not annoying whatsoever. Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 5, number 4. Yeah, that's got some fans. Lucifer, number 3. Martian Manhunter, number 9. I actually have a buddy of mine that's really into that series, so I might check that out. Red Thorn, Robin, Son of Batman, Secret Six, Sinestro 20, Teen Titans Go, Titans Hunt. I mean, it's just not... There's just nothing, no real like cachet in any of the titles in any of these books. Now, maybe it's a down week and we're not getting our Batman, standard or Justice League standard book or, Green Lantern or whatever, but still at the same time, as much as they try in DC nowadays to build these epic crossover stories, it just doesn't seem like, it has the luster, the big feel that it did, even 10 years ago with like a Final Crisis, where that was not, you know what I'm saying? Like not even 10 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. But Superman American Alien gives me promise to Superman comics, because over the past 4 years, there's been a severe lack of substance. Especially since the new Krypton stuff that they put out about 6 years ago, around the same time as your Final Crisis and the such. One thing that I really love about American Alien, besides the fact that it delivers, but it's like a Superman for all seasons, but updated and focusing more on the fact that Clark isn't human, and sometimes for him, that totally sucks ass. I think that Max Landis is a fantastic writer. Yeah, he's opinionated, but whatever, I am too. And he gets Superman on a human level, ironically enough. I highly suggest anybody that's a fan of Superman, read this book. Anybody that has never understood Superman and has disliked him because it's human nature to naturally not like something you don't understand, read this book. But for the rest of the DC books this week, I'm not picking up anything. If any of you have any suggestions, feel free to hit me up in the comment field. I would love to know what you people are reading from DC this week. Now, let's go forward with Image Comics, who, for me personally, are putting out the best books of any of the major publishers right now. Just pure comic book stories, and you can't beat that. You're not trying to outthink the room with a character that's already been established. And this week from Image, I'll personally be picking up Bitch Planet number 7. I love to say Bitch Planet. It's just two great words put together. Kelly Sue DeConnick is the writer. She has done wonders with this, but admittedly, I'm not caught up all the way on 7. I've read volume 1. And as a reader of a lot of books, I tend to pick up weekly titles, read them for consecutive months, then due to an influx of newer titles, I'll keep picking up the series, and then later, like 3 months down the road, I'll have like 3 months, 4 months of material worth reading in one sitting. So, and that's usually what I do with like the first volumes of a lot of independent comic books. I'll read through that, then I'll keep picking it up, and then eventually go back and read it in chunks. For instance, one book that I recently did this with is Mark Millar and Raphael Albuquerque's Huck. Issue 4 comes out this Wednesday, and I'm really enjoying what I've read this far. I read Mark Millar with hesitation because he's burnt me in the past with like rushed conclusions, chrononauts. And this apparently is this story is apparently what Millar wrote after he saw Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. So I guess opposed to that film, this book already in the first 3 issues really lets out the good feels. Albuquerque is producing just beautiful imagery. But I just want more dialogue out of Mark Millar's stories, man. There's always like one bubble of text or one, dialogue box or caption in every panel. And I never see him like carry on like real gigantic conversations. And he's such a good writer, man. I just want to see more of that. And hopefully maybe we'll get it in Huck. Who knows? But I highly suggest everyone go out and read this book because it's definitely there's definitely similarities with the Superman type of character in this. But we're talking about a pure person that just wants to help people. However, there is a secret behind him that is slowly starting to unravel itself, and I'm really interested to see what that secret is. So to speak. Another book that I'm picking up this week is Citizen Jack #4 from Sam Humphries. He gives us a look into the political world as if a demon named Marlin Spike was its puppet master. So it kind of makes you think if, what if this is already going on in Capitol Hill today? A demon running the show. I don't know. I'm not even going to get political right now. And finally, from Image Comics this week, I'm also going to be picking up I Hate Fairyland #5. If you don't like Scotty Young's art and love to read comics, you're probably a jerk. Plain and simple. This is such a fun book. I feel like the series is a creator's title, meaning other people in the industry, artists, writers, whatever, they read this book every month. It works on the visual side as well as the narrative through like the dialogue and the occasional song, help carry everything. Like I said, the art is awesome. And I'm just wondering if there are any shirts left. I suggest everyone should be going out and picking up any title from Image in its early stages. First and foremost, they have the best pure comic book stories, as I've said, in the game today. From a collector's standpoint, these properties are being bought left and right because stories are so damn good, okay? And I'm talking about they're being not bought off the shelves, but they're being bought by Hollywood to turn into either TV shows or film. Now, there is someone out there who read their first printing of Walking Dead #1, threw it on a board, slid it in a bag, and has since been resting in a box of comics that is labeled New Comics -Fall 2003 or just plainly W. The book is pretty expensive now, if you didn't know. And initially there was someone out there that just picked it up. They were like, oh, this is just a number, issue 1. Oh, I'll pick it up, throw it in there. Yeah, who knew, right? And the next Walking Dead #1 is out there somewhere. So consider these things the next time you see a new first issue of a comic from an awesome creative team specifically released by Image. On the other side of the coin, as we're moving further on down the list here, Marvel Comics is dropping some solid books this week. Yes, I am pissed about how the X-Men and Namor have been handled over the past few years, but what are you going to do? It's clear that Hollywood is pushing the dollar, and they're going to acquiesce. And as a comic book reader, I'm just trying to wrap my head around that, and finally, just deal with the fact that, the movies are so successful and the comic books aren't selling as much these days. So they want to sell it. How are they going to sell it? Well, kind of promote more of the Hollywood side into the pages. I get it. And honestly, the books that are coming out for me this week from Marvel are not really driven necessarily by Hollywood, so to speak. But let's start out top of the list. Amazing Spider-Man #8 comes out. Dan Slott can write Spidey forever, and I'd be okay with this. I don't want to dare say that Slott is bordering on Claremontian, but he has definitely showed things with Spider-Man that no other writer has succeeded in showing. This whole Spider-Man international action is pretty rad. There's so much stuff that Slott has waiting in the wings at all times. A shoe is always dropping, but it always gets me by surprise. I don't know about you, but it's not like I forget about things that there are seeds that he's planted, but yet once they, come to fruition, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. One character that has recently popped up is Mr. Negative. He recently had an arc with Mr. Negative to kick off the new volume of Amazing Spider-Man. And in that, he references back to Dark Reign from like 6 years ago, something like that. No one ever goes back and mentions like old events in comics anymore. See this -Marv, or something like that. Like they never do that anymore. And I don't know why, because if they want to sell old stuff, reference the old stuff. I know it's constantly like changing, and they're do all these reboots and, retcons and all that kind of stuff. But still, man, it's there. And that's why we're writing these books anyway, is because we read all the old stuff. So, I mean, if it's something you love, why not constantly reference old stuff? I loved seeing that in the last issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Also, coming out this week, Extraordinary X-Men #7. Now, I'm reading this book thinking in my head that this is actually Uncanny X-Men and not what is being printed as the current Uncanny X-Men title. That title itself is a whole other story. You can troll my Twitter @_Matt D. Simone, and find a recent rant from like a week ago to where, I read Uncanny X-Men 1 through 3 last week and just kind of crap my pants about it. But back to Extraordinary X-Men, I'm enjoying the story spun right now by Jeff Lemire, and I love the art of Humberto Ramos. I always have. I may have a few like nitpicky things about the book, like Colossus's paint smudge on his face that is supposed to be a beard, or Jean Grey and Old Man Logan being Jeannie and Logan. But I can't really get behind a possible romance, being that Logan is like 60 years older than she is, at least. I don't even know if they're going in that direction, but I love the old will they, won't they of Jean and Logan, even though I'm a huge Cyclops fan too. That love triangle for me is just the like quintessential comic book love triangle. But I think maybe it's time I come to the grips to the fact that those days are long gone. So yeah, Extraordinary X-Men #7. Look forward to seeing how this story progresses. Mighty Thor #4 comes out. Another Jason Aaron title that I pick up every single month. At first, during the last volume of Jason Aaron's Thor, I said to myself, "There's no way they would use Jane Foster as the new female Thor. Like, there's no way. It's too obvious. It wouldn't work anyway because she has cancer, and she could just cure herself instantly with some of that, Asgardian magic, and that would be it." Well, it's worked thus far. I still think they should cure her, or she should cure herself, or they should cure her somehow eventually. But, we'll see. Jason Aaron is building Thor's world similarly to how I talked about what Dan Slott did with Spidey, going back to Thor God of Thunder, which was released a few years back under the Marvel Now campaign. The seeds that were planted there are still yet to bloom. So I mean, everyone, this is a highly talked about book. The Thor titles Jason Aaron has penned in the past few years, it's must read Marvel. Definitely go out and check those out. And speaking of must-reads, and to close out my stack for the week is Star Wars #16. If there's a time to jump onto this title, it's right now, folks. I've talked about this series a lot on Matty Loves Podcast, and for good reason. It fills our desire for Star Wars every month. Coming off the awesome Vader Down story arc, Jason Aaron has brought on now Lionel Francis Yu, who drew Secret Invasion back in the day, which was killer. They start up the new arc, Rebel Jail. Rebel Jail. I'm from Virginia, so like Rebel Jail. I know it probably sounds like Rebel Gel, like Rebel Yell, like Rubber Hail Gel. Hair gel. See, I can't even say this right. I probably should edit this out, but I'm not going to because I'm running on too long about it. So we have Rebel Jail starting this week. And this is one of the best titles that have come out that came out of 2015, and we knew it was going to be another Jason Aaron pen book. We're stuck between A New Hope and Empire, folks. What exactly happened in between the films? This stuff that goes on in this comic, in Darth Vader, in all of these books outside of Kanan and the Shattered Empire miniseries. And then, of course, we have Obi-Wan and Anakin that's going on right now that is also awesome. But anyway, all these Star Wars titles are entertaining as hell, and I highly suggest you reading them if you have not read at least one volume already. But like I said, that's it. That's my stack for the week. So be sure to let me know what you think of my selections for this week. Is there anything I'm missing? Oh, yeah. And is there something that you want to hear about every week? I know a lot of people, they don't have the time or the money to read comic books weekly. I'm here to help you people out. I consider myself a reader of the hits, and I've also managed to discover a few titles most people don't talk about on a daily basis. This here is my place to do so. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for future quick hits here on Matty Loves Comics, and maybe I'll talk to you next week. See you then. For more of what I've got to say, come hit me up over at my website, MattyLoves.com, as well as my YouTube channel, Matty Loves, for all of your comic book wants and needs and all that good stuff.